day look like for you?
What does a day look like for me?
Yeah, I mean, you got that little notebook, you writing everything down.
Yeah, so it depends on the day, but largely speaking, there are things that I do on a day-to-day basis which are the same. Some of them I can't mention. No, I'm only joking. So basically, the things that I do, that I try and do, I try and because I had the pulmonary embolism, okay, I couldn't do martial arts and still basically cannot do any heavy martial arts for some time, right? So that's one thing that I'm gonna come, inshallah, back into. You know, I think next week or the week after, because I'm on blood thinners, so I need to get off those blood thinners to get. But basically, I used to do a lot of martial arts. But the point is, on a day-to-day basis, these are the things that I have to do. Number one, I have to do Quran. I have to do Azkar Sabah al Masa. So I think at my height, I had a daily plan of doing 1.5 hours of Quran, either hifdh or muraja'at, which is basically going on. And basically, this is the most important thing. If you don't have Quran in your day-to-day, I think, life, then quite frankly, you're not following the Sunnah. You cannot really be a da'iyah, because what are you going to give the people? You know, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. The best of you are those who learn the Quran and teach it. The Quran itself states that وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. We have made the Quran easy for remembrance, so who's going to come and remember it? Allah has made it easy. You know, it's one of the things which Allah has actually made so easy for the people is Quran, to memorize it, the Quran, to understand it. To Ibn Jazari said, "Al-akhdhu bit-tajweed hatmun lazim man lam yujawwid al-Qur'ani athimu بأنه به إلينا وصل وهكذا به إلينا أنزل," or something like that. That basically doing it with tajweed. And he says that some people that don't do Quran with tajweed is a sinner. Ibn Jazari, one of the greatest scholars. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he said on this matter, he says, "Al-mahiru bil-Quran مع السفرة الكرام البررة والذي يتتعتع فيه وهو عليه شاق فله أجران." That the one who is proficient with the Quran is with the high and lofty angels, and the one who finds it difficult, listen to this one, the one who finds it difficult and he is to pronounce the words and so on, he gets 2 rewards. That person gets 2 rewards. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said in the hadith, he said, لا أقول ألف لام ميم حرف. He says, I don't say ألف لام ميم is one harf. ولكن ألف حرف ولام حرف وميم حرف وللحسنة عشرة أمثالها. The alif is a harf, 1 letter, and lam is a harf, 1 letter, and mim is a harf, 1 letter, and for each letter is 10 rewards. Now we know there's 77,000 words in the Quran, and of them probably the average amount of letters is 5 to 7. Let's say 7. So 77,000 times 7 times 7. Let's just say 7 times 7, which is 49. So that's what 4,900,000, something like that. Rewards, like 5 million rewards from reading the Quran one time. I seldomly can see or think of a thing that you can do on your day-to-day basis, which can be more rewardable, which can be more psychologically nourishing, which can be more healing, because the Quran is shifa, than reading the Quran. The days that I don't read the Quran, I feel down. I feel like as if something bad has happened to me, something's sad. I feel like I've wasted my time. Sometimes I read other books, and those other books I feel sometimes sad, because I'm thinking, why am I reading this kalam al-bashar, the human beings' words, then rather than the kalam of the human beings? I've been to 4 universities in my life, and as some people think, oh, you've learned so much from the university. Wallahi, sometimes, because I memorize about 95% of the Quran in my car. People don't know this. In my car, driving to places, because I couldn't do everything at one time. So I have sometimes learned more driving to universities than inside the university itself. Because when I'm driving to the university, I'm reading the Quran. But when I'm going in there, I'm listening to a white man speak about liberalism, whatever it is. And whatever he has to say is nothing better than what I have read when I was coming on the way. So as I say, reading the Quran, if you don't put the Quran as a centerpiece of your life, then there's no tamyiz, there's no difference between you and everybody else that is basically like in society. You have nothing to offer. It is the illumination, it is the centerpiece of the Islamic faith. So Quran. The second thing is Azkar Sabah al Masa, as I've mentioned, which is you can listen to it now. You don't even, I've got it on my channel as well, the morning and evening supplications, and I've translated it. So if this is something which the Prophet ﷺ used to do all the time, and some of those supplications are worth so much reward that it's beggars belief that people actually forego this on a day-to-day basis. It beggars belief, really, to be honest with you. So that's the second thing. The third thing is I try to do lifting weights about 3 to 4 times a week. Let's say 3 times a week. A 3-day split, I try to do that. Obviously, I've got my ilm that I do. So on a certain selected days, I study Islam. And I've got about 4 or 5 very close teachers which I study with them. I study Bukhari on certain days. And to be honest with you, Bukhari, we're going through a Sharh al-Qastalani, which will take about 7 years to complete. We've done about 10% of it. We go through other books. We've got other teachers. That takes up a lot of my time. We go through fiqh Hanbali, and that takes up a lot of my time. Going through other mawad, other things. This is like, I feel a great sense of achievement and happiness, contentment when I'm going through these particular Islamic fields, because it is the shara, it is the holy muqaddas knowledge. It's not just any knowledge. I've studied a lot of other things, and to be honest with you, it's like nonsense. Sorry to say, most of it I study and I'm not interested in it. Really, what I'm interested in is the Quran. Really, what I'm interested in is what the Prophet ﷺ said. If I just go through 3 hadiths that I've never heard before, it makes my day, because there's something. Is imagine you're being communicated with by the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the Messenger of Allah, and there's new information that you haven't heard him say, that you hear him say. Going through the hadith, very important. And so every day I do with my kids, I do about 20 to 30 minutes of Arabic as well, Arabic lesson. And they're starting to, because I also try and give back to my kids and my family and stuff like that. And I've also got do lessons with other people in my family from time to time, but I'm trying to focus on the children a little bit more and take them swimming once a week. They're starting to do BJJ now. They've been doing it for a long time. Play fight, rough and tumble play or whatever. I do a lot of that with them. So there's a family time. I do a lot of family time stuff. Obviously we've got filming. We come and we've got filming about 3 times a week. I've got teaching, which we do about 2 to 3 times a week. So that's basically it. I can try and break it down. And when I was doing martial arts, I would do that. I try and do that 4 times, maybe 5 times a week, depending on the week. So that's basically really it. And I try and break it down and change it up. But then obviously the schedule starts building up, and I do what I need to do. But the staple things that I do on a day-to-day basis, which wherever I may be in the world, I will do, is the Quran. It is the Azkar. It is the muhasabat al-nafs, or the accountability, self-accountability. It is something to do with the body, so some exercise, something like that, and so on.
MashaAllah. It's proper, bro. I definitely have more questions, but I want to open the floor up to the other 2 brothers here, just in case they have anything else they want to add.
Alhamdulillah. There's one thing on my mind right now. What are your advice to fathers?
Well, to be honest with you, it's easy for a man to be distracted from his children. I think sometimes we just have these tendencies. It's difficult. So what I do, as someone who has a proclivity to distraction, is I put things, I systematize things, I schedule things, I try and make things into a routine. So my thing is, with your children, first of all, you can spend years and years and years of having children and then not giving them their rights. So the way out of that is to have a routine with the children, a daily routine, a weekly routine. My routine with the children, as I mentioned, I got the Arabic lessons I do with them. I've got the kind of rough and tumble play. I take them swimming once a week. I take them out. Sometimes I take them out, but that's less often. You got to do things like that. You got to put that in, because if you don't, then you won't have that influence on your child. They will not be attached to you. You will. And by the way, it's very important to note that you spending time with your kids is not a favor to them. It's a favor to yourself, because in fact, what it does is it activates endorphins in your body, and it does things for you from a mental health perspective, which elevates your state. So if you try and eliminate that part of your life, you're only doing that to your own discredit and disfavor. So my point is, sometimes we can be selfish as fathers, but if you are of that type, you have to systematize things, you have to schedule things, you have to make things routine, and that is in your favor, because at the end of the day, it's one of the greatest adornments of the dunya. Al-mal wal-banun, zinatul hayat ad-dunya, as the Quran states, that children and wealth are the adornment of this life. If you can't even make use of that, then the problem is with you. You're only harming yourself.
In Jannah, if you do it mukhlisan, sincerely, for the sake of Allah, and Allah make us from the people of the Quran.
What daily habits or routine do you recommend for those interested in Dawah or Islamic studies? And what should our relationship with Quran be? Salah, Quran, fitness, tawbah, dua, adhkar, family, work.
Regarding your daily routine, there are certain things that every Muslim has to do, right? You have to pray your 5 times salawat. For the men, if they can, the best to do it in the masjid. Especially if you live close to the masjid, then you would, if you can hear the adhan without a speaker from the muaddin, then that would mean it's obligatory for you to go pray in the masjid. If you live far away, it's still better for you to go and pray in the masjid. Past that, you have to look at your life. There's not a one-size-fits-all, right? Depends what your job is. If you're able to work fewer hours and dedicate more hours to da'wah, then good. If you're unable to, then you do what you have to do. Every day you should have a time for your Quran. Little bit or a lot. That's between you and Allah. But you need to have a time for your Quran. You need to have a time for your adhkar, the ones that are in the Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ, because if you're not doing that, then what are you giving da'wah towards? You need to have a time for your dua and your tadabbur, your contemplation upon the greatness of Allah, upon the Quran, upon the hadith. As we have a hadith from Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma about the virtues of such a tadabbur, to sit and contemplate. I have my own time for this. And that's between me and Allah. I don't talk about exactly in this, and I don't try to show this is between me and Allah, and you should be between you and Allah. As a student of knowledge, as a da'i, and every da'i should be a student of knowledge, and every student of knowledge should give da'wah. You need to have a time to revise your knowledge, whatever you're teaching, to revise that. Set your times. But at the same time, for your own health, I mean, I'm not good at this, but this is advice for myself. You need to make time to rest, to sleep, to eat. You need to make time for your family, for your children, for your wife. You need to balance that out. And everything will want to suck your time up. If you sit with your family, they will want you to just sit with them and do nothing else, and that's wonderful. But as a Muslim, you have to then take some of that time away for other things. If you go to work, they're going to want you to work and extra work and overtime and this, as if that's the only purpose you have in life, but you have to work and then take some time. But the main purpose of your life is to do the khidmah, to do the service for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that will take many forms. Somebody's, it may be that they teach a lot of mutun and books, so them, they need to spend a large chunk of time revising and checking ahadith and checking books. That's great. Some may be more involved in the street da'wah, and they need to prepare, they need to look things up, they need to work on that. Alhamdulillah, may Allah reward you. Look at your situation. Give everything its haqq. Make a time, so, okay, this is my daily time for my personal ibadah, my personal qiyamul layl, my personal dua in the night, my personal reading of Quran, my personal dhikr. It might be a few minutes to many hours, that's your situation, but make that. This is my time to grow as a Muslim, to watch durus online or attend durus in person or read books or so on. Make that time. This is my work time. I got to go earn a rizq. For women, this is my time for my children, taking care of my house and whatever, dishes and cooking, whatever. Make your times, but give everything the slot in your time slots as needed.